Hi guys, thanks for joining me. So for the first succulent, what we're going to do is use the ivy leaf, and this particular one uses all three of the ivy templates, the small, the medium and the large. This one's the medium. I'm going to be using our leaf green wool, and we're going to need about 1 gram for the medium size template. The small template takes about 0.5 grams, the medium 1 gram and the large 1.5. All the weights and measures can be found on the website under the project's infos and download link. I've got my pocket scale, I've got my 3 favourite needles. I'll be working on my flat mat. So I'm going to start by making, I'm only going to make 1 leaf on camera, but there is a whole nother tutorial on the channel for ivy leaves, and it actually shows you how to put a little armature in it as well. We won't be doing that for this particular project. We don't need the armature. So I'm going to grab one gram of, let's weigh this out, just about 1 gram of the leaf green. With any of the templates that have sort of pointy bits and sort of little details, you want to fill from those points sort of into the middle. Don't try and put your wool in the middle and sort of move it to the outside, because that generally doesn't work. You don't end up with a good shape. So once you've got your wool, I've just adjusted some camera angles so we can get a closer look. Start by just pulling off a bit, and then when you go into any point, what I like to do, and this is entirely optional, is get your wool and fold it over so you've got that sort of nice rolled edge, and then that rolled edge is what goes up into the tip, and then all the fibres kind of follow round. If you were to put it in like that, you'd have some hairy bits kind of stuck out that way. This is just something that I like to do, so I'm going to lightly just tack that down. And because we're not putting an armature into this particular template, we don't need to worry about, you know, separating the wool in half. It can just all go in. So I'm just very lightly tacking those ends down to my surface. Slightly smaller bit into these little ones down at the bottom. And there, that's the last point down in. So very, very lightly tacked to my surface, and then just all over a little bit to start taming those bits of fluff down into the template. I've kept a little bit back just to fill in any sort of thin spots that may occur. And the weights and measures, they're just a good guide. You know, they don't have to be followed exactly. If you need an extra pinch, or if you feel that there's, you know, a pinch too much, just adjust it to what you think. So that's all pretty good. Got a bit of a thin spot just there, so I'm going to lay some more down. There. And from here it's sort of standard drill. Just keep going over it and over it. Pay particular attention to your edges. You want to get a good felt. We don't want to be driving into our surface. We're just allowing that needle to touch that surface. Nice loose grip on the needle. And, you know, just relax when you do it. Let the needle do all the work for you. So you can see it's very, very lightly tacked. A few little fibres protruding into my mat. And whenever you've got something like this, don't just grab and pull. Just tickle it off. And it looks like a hot mess. So back into the template for another round. Edges first. Get it nicely established. I'm using my 40 spiral. I could perhaps go up a needle for a bit of a faster felting. And when I took it off, I realised that I had a very thin spot here, so I'm going to add a bit more. There, that's better. Get back to my 38 spiral. Now we'll just keep going all over this. You want it quite firmly felted. Tickle it off again. Have a look. Hold it up to the light. See if you've got any more thin spots. Which I do. So I'm going to put a bit more. There we go. Might be tempted to add just a little bit more. So I'm going to grab an extra pinch. Like I said, those weights and measures, they're a good guide, but you don't have to stick to them rigidly. Not if your project needs a pinch or two more. That's better. So that's, I'm going to come in with my multi-needle just for expediency. And this one has only two needles in it. Generally you find if you have the third one is sort of offset, and you're more likely to hit the sides of the template, whereas when you've got them in this one is in sort of a straight line, you can see they two line up. I find it easier, but there. Okay, that's looking a lot better now. Looking a bit more like a leaf. So I'm going to pull it out the template. And again, this is completely optional. I'm going to go all over this with the punch tool. And this kind of spreads it out as well. I apologise for the clattering that that needle makes. Now what I'm going to do is put it back into the template, and if you can see, you know, because of that spread, the edges are now curled up, and that's quite nice because we can put all of that extra wool into those edges, and it helps make a good strong edge. So just all over it. Going back to my multi-needle. And as always, or as usual, I haven't yet turned my project over. I've kept it the same face down. And when you're doing your parts, you may find that the flat mat does this particularly well. There's the side that I've been stabbing, and you can see the little pit marks and holes and things. But on the other side, oops, apart from the bit of straw, but on the other side you can see there's this really nice finish. And so when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you use the template that way, and then when you do the next leaf, turn the template over and have the other side face down, and that way you get a couple of different orientations with the nice surface facing upwards, and it all adds to the diversity of the leaves. So I would probably spend just a couple more minutes going over it and refining it down till we've got a nice sort of firm felt. But for the purpose of this, I'm going to skip over that, and ta-da! Here's one I prepared earlier. Actually, here are several I've prepared earlier. The numbers that I've done 3 large ones, I've done 3 medium ones, and I've done 2 small ones. This, I think, gives a good sort of spread. The optional little extra that you can do is this is the Calyx template from the Rose set, and you can make one of those as well, and this will go right in the very tippy top to create some kind of straight up spikiness. So there we go, that's everything made ready for the succulent plant, and now all we need to do is start layering up these leaves and doing an assembly. So I just thought I would quickly mention that I'm not going to iron these. Usually with lots of the flower petals, I would iron them to make them, you know, super thin, and I'm not going to do that with this because I actually want sort of that thickness of the leaves. If you look at sort of succulents and stuff, they're quite chunky anyway, so I don't want to take the thickness out of this. You could lightly sort of run an iron, just do that glide over the surface to make it nice and smooth, but I don't think it needs it. I like the texture that I've got on here, so I'm not going to iron these, but we're going to carry on and sort of assemble them now in their little pot. What I'm going to do here is just show you how I fill my little pot, and there's no weights and measures to this because obviously you won't be using the same pot I am, but this is our core wall, and what I'm going to do is just create a bit of a shape by stuffing the core wall into the pot until I've got something that is, this is quite loose at the moment, but what we're looking to get in here is just a block of core wall that is quite firmly felted, because we're going to be attaching various leaves and things to this. One option that you've also got, if you have some old foam mat, you can cut a piece in the bottom and sort of put a little bit of core on the top of that. We're then going to be using some brown fibres on the very top to simulate sort of dirt and earth. That's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to start by felting this bit into some kind of rough shape. The first thing I'm going to do is roll it, because we can always add on more. I'm just going to start with my single needle, and this one is my 36 star. I'm just going to start by creating that sort of initial roll. You want to roll this quite tightly, so we want a good firm core in the bottom of the pot. And this doesn't have to look pretty at all. But we just want to rough something out that is around the same sort of size as the pot. So I'm just going to squish this down and go very carefully with my multi-tool. And this one is a great one. All the needles are in a line. So I'm just going to start creating my blob shape. You can see it's getting in there. I'm going to add a little bit more. I'll probably speed this bit up, but I'm just going to work until I've got a good firm base. And then I'm going to do the same for however many pots you've got or you're doing. So that's the easiest way to do it if you've got just coral. Like I said, if you've got some old foam, which is probably how I'm going to fill my pots, putting some of this 2-inch foam in the bottom will provide a good sturdy base. But I wanted to show you how to do this part just with coral. So this is a bit squishier down here. It's a bit firmer on top. I'm just going to go over this a little bit more. As I said, you want to give yourself a good base to start attaching your leaves. So this is reasonably firmly felted on top, a bit squishier underneath. I think that will do it for my purposes. There. So that now fits nicely in my pot. And as you can see, I've got a good enough gap at the top, probably somewhere between 10 and 20 mil, like so. So I will do this for my other pots. You've then got the option, you can glue this in now. you can not glue it in at all. You can make the whole thing and glue it in afterwards. There's no kind of right or wrong way of doing this. It depends whether you want it permanently in the pot. What I'm going to do is I will get some brown and then sort of cover this area, and you'd want to do that before you were gluing in, because you don't want to be trying to attach sort of everything in the pot. But there you have your sort of core base, and you can do this with obviously whatever wool you want. This is the core wool that we sell on the website, so it really does felt nice and firmly. So you're going to do that for your pot. I'm going to grab probably some dark brown from our range, and then put a nice little layer over the top. Here's my dark brown in my fluff tube. So you just want a thin bit, but you don't want any of this white showing through, so what I'm going to do is take this out. Put some down. And this doesn't need to be firmly felted. This can be quite loose. Just sort of tacking it down to that top. Fill in any bits. It's just getting that covering. There, and you know, don't worry if it's a little bit thin in places. It just gives some sort of colour difference. Right, let's see how that's looking. Pretty good. So there we go. That's our simulated dirt in the pot. And now we're all ready for potting our plant. Here are all my leaves. So I've got the 3 large, 3 medium, 2 small, and I've got the calyx from the rose set. May or may not use this, I don't know yet. I'm going to start with the large leaves. And first, I'm just going to slightly arrange them. So the first layer is going to go down like that. So we've got them sort of overlapping in thirds. Now you can add one at a time. I'm going to be brave. And felt straight down in that middle, and this is going to, you know, cause these leaves to kind of arc upwards. You may want to take it out of your pot. It depends how big your pot is. You know, don't worry about sort of taking it out, felting it a bit on a mat and putting it back in. Just make sure that when you're especially when you're felting something that is completely hard, needle always bang upright. You don't want to start getting any angles. Not when you're main felting. You may want to just kind of very, very lightly angle for minute adjustments, but needle straight up. And obviously we're only using a small part of the needle. You know, you don't want to be aiming right down in the bottom of the pot. We're just connecting these leaves to that sort of real tight, solid upper layer of that core that we've put in there. So there's my 3 large ivy leaves. And now I'm going to do the same with the 3 medium ones. I think I'm getting to the point where I've got to place them. So what I'm looking at now is, where do I want these placed? I think that one's going to go off that way, and that one's going to go off that way. I seem to have lost my other medium size. Oh, there it is. The camera here was hiding it. I need more coffee. So that one's going to go there. That one's going to go there. And that one's going to go there. You want to sort of stagger these leaves a little bit. Yeah, I think there. And if you're not sure, a couple of light stabs, it will hold it in place well enough. And then I think, let's see, I'm going to put that one there maybe, and this last one like that. And I'm still using my 36 star. No, I'm not. That's completely the wrong needle. 36 star. And you can see as I'm now felting in the centre, it's really kind of concaving and doing all kinds of brill things to really shape these leaves. So there's that. And then finally, I'm going to put in a couple, a couple of those, like that. Nope, go with that. And like I said before, just place them and give yourself a couple of tacking stabs just to see. I mean, these are really curling round now. That's brill. You know, pull your leaves a little bit, pull them around. Now, does it need that in the middle? Let's see. Let's poke that right down in there. Get some real spiky upness. That's not even a word. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, so we've got that nice, and that's the calyx that just finishes that off. I mean, look at that real kind of spiked bit. If you don't have the calyx, I mean, you can, let's see, sort of, if you join those leaves there like that, so there's your ivy. This is another small one. Just fold over those bottom two, and you've got a another little shape there which you could put on the very top. I like the calyx, so in all its spiky upness. So I'm just going to go in with my needle at a couple of places, but it doesn't need much. That's, I think, about it there. A little succulent plant from the ivy leaf set with optional extra rose calyx. And that's it. That's succulent 1 of 3. Thank you very much for spending your time with me today. There will be more subsequent videos for this set coming. There's going to be a range of 3 different sort of succulent plants that you can make, and they make an adorable little trio. I hope that you have found this useful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to pop them down below or shoot me an email. Please do subscribe to the channel. We do have a new Facebook group now, which is facebook.com/groups/mumsmakery. Lots of fun and stuff going on over there. Well, that's it for me for now, but I wish you all a very crafty day.